Welcome, everybody, to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel. My name is Ross Benjamin. I'm your host. It is Wednesday, December the 27th, and we're going to be discussing the NFL today with my cohorts, Mr. Jesse Schule and Mr. Sean Higgs, all three of us of gamblersworld.net, folks, where you'll find 10 of the finest handicappers in the country, including ourselves, and where we guarantee our picks. We're all single game and multi-game daily packages, as well as subscription plans of 30 days or fewer, are guaranteed that if you don't win, you don't make a profit, you will be credited the exact amount of money you spent on that specific purchase. So, Sean, how are you?
Not too bad. Finally got some bowl winners last night. 2-1 day there. Had the Bowling Green +4. Didn't start out too good.
The over.
Kansas City over. Never in doubt. 12.5. You know me. I'm not waiting to an hour before kickoff to get a
should have won that Bowling Green game, buddy. Would they have second and goal when I looked at one point at the 2 late in the game and they didn't score?
Yeah. Then again, I hold on for a miracle cover. Like Jesse said yesterday, we're getting miracle covers when we get, UT San Antonio -13 or the other, crazy line moves are winning for me, and a good move on a total I'm not catching. It's hi, bowl season. Welcome to the new age. Opt-outs, transfer portals, craziness.
Yeah, Kansas wins by 13. Jesse, we're talking about the craziness of bowl season. And as Jesse put it yesterday, I don't know how anybody can have confidence in their bowl picks right now. And he says that from a sarcastic standpoint because of the uncertainties and the craziness of what we saw so far. I had the Texas State and who did they play yesterday? It's already slips my Rice. Texas State and Rice game over 59. They had 59 3 minutes into the second half, and I had to sweat it out until they scored with less than 3 minutes to go to put it at 66. So, when you think you got, I said, finally, I'm right on. I'm one of these bull picks, and then they make you sweat. Anyway,
and then it's Texas State scoring. Now you figure Rice is going to punch one in late.
Yeah.
For like a late score, not backdoor. You're getting, that was not close. But I'm just saying for who's going to score late to nothing.
Yeah. Well, Rice threw 5 interceptions in that game.
Yeah.
And you know what helped me? I had 2 pick sixes from Texas State. So, again, you can make a case I was lucky too at the same time, right? So, Jesse, what say you, my friend?
I finally won a bowl game myself. I had Texas State as well. Pretty happy about that. I also had a winner in the English Premier League in the morning. And then I had a basketball game in the NBA when I was up in the final minute of the game and lose with just seconds left on the clock, which is just how it works in the NBA. So at the end of the day, a 2-1 day, you can't complain too much about that. And I do feel better about the Bulls moving forward. I mean, if you look at the schedule now, you look at the transfer portal players and the players opting out. There's aside from some of the like Florida State is in a bit of a mess, but I've got a game today. I've got Oklahoma State. I managed to get them +4 a couple weeks ago. Now they're a favorite in the game. I feel good about it, but like Sean said, you never know. I mean, maybe those are the games they lose by double digits, but even if they do, I made the right move. I did my job. I predicted where the closing line value would land, and I got the +4 with Oklahoma State. So that's something to hang your hat on at least.
You said that yesterday, Jess, about like the closing line value and stuff. People are like, oh, a win, it's still a win, a loss, still a loss. And it's the CLVs just to make people feel better when you lose. I don't know. I mean, I feel if I have a better number, why wouldn't it? That's going to work out down the road for us. I mean, again,
you know who says that, Sean? It's guys that are worried about are you riding a 10-0 run, or what did you do? Did you win yesterday? I mean, if you're concerned about how are you doing for the last decade and how are you doing for a 365-day period, you need the closing line value to beat the bookmakers. That's how I do it anyways. And I know that's how you do it with NFL as well. Closing line value all over the place the last couple of years, and the results speak
Why
for
wouldn't
themselves.
you want a better number? And again, exactly. It's.
I'm seeing
it doesn't work
Oklahoma
every
State.
time.
It's
Oklahoma.
I saw something last night like this is so rigged. There was some game and someone was like, well, why do you just bet the rig side then if you think it's rigged? People think that it's like, oh, you just started gambling last year, fella. Like, what are you talking about? What? Yeah, it's rigged. So bet the fixed side. And if you really think it's that fixed, like you see it all the time, fixed. Why the hell are you even betting? Stop.
I'm sorry, but people who claim it's rigged, it's fixed, those are people who have not won over the long haul. And it makes them feel better to think that there's a conspiracy that's preventing them from winning rather than their own lack of talent and ability. So
I think if instead of putting never in doubt when I get like a half-point winner or stuff, I'm like, good to be on the fixed side. I'm gonna start putting that out to them. Another fixed winner for me, folks.
Yeah, or Stu Feiner would convince you he had inside information and knew it was fixed.
That's that love Stu.
Yeah, so
I love the Dr. Ron Bash when he was on his channel. I was a Dr. Ron Bash fan.
Yeah. All of them guys, man, oh man, them guys back in the 80s and 90s that put out those USA Today ads and with unbelievable records that you can never verify.
It was the best because it was like the Monday ad would be like, I'm coming off a 7-0 day Sunday. Like, how'd you get the ad in on time? Like, how did you know? How were you perfect yesterday? The ad's got to be in a week.
That's the thing. Sports Illustrated actually wrote a story about it 10 years ago or something. And I guess one of those guys, Feiner, I think it was.
Yeah, it was Feiner.
Paid for an ad. Paid for an ad in the paper, and they ended up printing it before the games were even played. That his 7-0 record really made him look bad.
Yeah, and the stories could go on. I don't want to waste everybody's time with these stories, but it used to make me laugh too. And I'll end it at this. And if you guys want to comment, those back in the day, we had those when the schedules used to come out, and there would be a bunch of ads for the schedule, and the schedules always came out quarterly. And somebody would have an ad that says, I got my SEC game of the year going. I've been eyeing this game down for a long time, and the game wasn't going to be played for another 5 or 6 weeks at the time the schedule came and was delivered. And it's like there was no look ahead lines then, Sean. You know what I mean? There was no.
I'm gonna say though, if I'm looking on the schedule ahead of time, I'm going to look for a spot like I think that's a good spot. Like, see, that one's not crazy to me because I do that kind of too. Like, I'm looking to play a team a week or two out. Like, I can look at a schedule and be like, all right, that might be a good spot to get them.
Yeah, but a lot of things could change.
But not 3 months. I can't do 3 months out. I can do 2 weeks out.
2 weeks is one thing. Yeah, that's fine. We're talking 6-7 week period, and it's and you're labeling it as your game of the year in that conference. It's come on, man. There's so many unknowns that could happen between now and then. So anyway, all right, let's get to the games at hand. We got some good ones we're discussing today. Jesse's going to look at that big matchup in the AFC between the Miami Dolphins and the Baltimore Ravens that could determine the number 1 seed in the AFC, and it could also clinch the division title for the Miami Dolphins and the Lions and Cowboys. That will be a game that Sean's going to be looking at. That's a Saturday night affair, and I'll be looking at the game between Atlanta and Chicago. The Bears playing a lot better. Atlanta still in a position where they could win the NFC South, but we'll see what every one of us predict. And let's start with the Saturday night game. Intriguing matchup here, the Lions and the Cowboys. Look, I looked at this game, Sean, and the first thing that comes to my mind is Dallas is coming off 2 tough road losses. They got embarrassed at Buffalo. They lose a tough one at Miami. We know their home and away splits are the disparity in the numbers, home and away, are vast. And also the fact that the Lions clinched the NFC North last week. So I'm not sure what type of urgency or what type of letdown they might be set up for. But in any event, it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what you think on this one.
Yeah. This is a spot. Initially, I'm looking at Detroit in this spot. I'm like, wow, I'm going to get Dallas coming off probably a win in Miami, right? Maybe go 1-1.
Yeah.
They go 0-2. And then you mentioned Detroit clinching. I got to take the Cowboys in this one here now. It just
Yeah.
changes. And again, I'm always, we're just talking about looking ahead in spots. So I'm always a week ahead thinking how things are going to play out. And I thought Dallas would at least split on the road here. And I figured I'd have Detroit coming in off a loss to Minnesota in this game. Yet they clinched. They look pretty good. But now you got to, this is a kind of desperate Dallas team now. Now you've dropped 2 in a row. Here come the whispers that Dak's not good. You can't beat a team with a winning record. Blah, blah, blah. I still have Goff on the road where he's usually not as good as he's home, even though they're playing in basically an indoor game here. I got to lean Dallas here it's really a must-win game for him because things could start spiraling here. This is typical kind of Dallas, and this is me coming from the heart of Dallas fan. This is what they do. All of a sudden, things are looking nice, and then loss, bad game here. There'll be some kind of whatever. Nah, they need this one here. I expect them to win. They still have a shot for the division, right? I mean, they're just a game back.
Yeah.
Maybe they catch
the
Eagles
need
again
a lot.
playing.
Yeah.
And this goes to looking at other spots. Eagles playing with fire on Monday there in a game. So they're still not playing their A kind of game themselves. Dallas, it's there for the taking. Beat a team at home. Let's go. Lay to 6 here.
Yeah, and if they win this game, and they happen to have everything fall their way in terms of Philadelphia's last 2 games, it could have a bearing on seeding because division champs. It's a difference between playing at home or on the road if they have to face Detroit in the playoffs. So, there's a lot to be said about this matchup. And again, it's a Lions team, Jesse, that is not used to the degree of success they've had this year. They haven't been in this position for quite a long time. Of course, you can make the case, well, you can't blame players who've been around for the last 2 years for the last 20 years of futility. But at the same time, they've been hearing all week how great they are because the fan base was just ecstatic that they won a division title. And the other part of the equation, Jesse, is this is a Dallas team that's 3-5 on the road, but at home 7-0 straight up, 6-1 against the spread, a average victory margin of 24.5 points per game in that 7-0 home record, and averaging just a shade under 40 points per game at home. What say you, my friend?
Well, I gave out Dallas on this show last week, +1.5, took the half-point loss, but I stand by my pick. I don't think I was on the wrong side. It's just it didn't work out. Dallas marches down the field on their opening drive, 1st and goal at the 2, fumble instead of score. They score on that play. They win the game. Of course, there's a lot of variables that happen after that. But when you lose by 2, you have to assume that if you punch that one in, you're going to win. I said it was a buy low, sell high spot. Sell high on Miami coming off that big win over the Jets. Buy low on Dallas after they got throttled by Buffalo. And you have to give Dallas at least credit for coming back and playing a competitive game. That fumble cost them. They did hold the league's #1 defense to 22 points with a late field goal. That you turn around, you come back home. It's a letdown spot for Detroit. We know Dallas plays better at home. I think -6 is a fair price. I wouldn't be surprised if this is 7 or higher by game time. I'm with Sean. I'll take the Cowboys again.
Yeah, you guys both make a compelling case, and you heard what I had to say about their home and away splits and the situation with Detroit. So I can't disagree with you guys. So our official pick from Mr. Higgs is Dallas -6 over Detroit, and myself and Jesse concur with that selection. So, all right, let's get to the next game. It's Jesse's game, Baltimore and Miami. Jesse, this is shapes up to be a real good one with a lot at stake in terms of playoff implications. Not Both teams are in. Okay. It's just a matter now of the seeding. It could be this game, the final score can end up determining who the number one seed is in the AFC. And Miami could sew up the division because lo and behold, Buffalo's still alive, and they have to play Buffalo in the last game. They lose this game, then it's for all the marbles in the final week. And I don't think they wanted to get to this point. In Baltimore, what can you say? This team has just been rolling. And take it away, Jesse. Baltimore -3.5 and 47.
Yeah, well, both these teams are off my Christmas list. As I mentioned, I was on Dallas last week, took a half-point loss there. Then I had a game of the year on the Niners. I really did believe they're the better team. I thought it was a really tough spot for the Ravens on the road on the West Coast over the holidays. We all know how that played out. So I'm not really eager to back either of these two teams. But, I mean, I look at Miami. So they beat the Cowboys. That was one win against a team with a winning record in their last 29 games overall. And they do it. They win by just 2 points. They were fortunate that the Cowboys fumbled on the opening drive. They scored 22 points. You look at what the Ravens did in San Francisco, a lot more impressive. Sean mentioned Harbaugh on the last show, how you can just count on Harbaugh to have his troops ready to go. They don't win on the West Coast and then say, "Oh, we're packing it in for this game here against Miami." They should be ready to play. I think they still need one more win to clinch the home field throughout the playoffs. And Miami is 2-9 against the spread in their last 11 versus the Ravens. I still think this Miami team is, I shouldn't use the fraud word, but I mean, the fact of the matter is they don't have a great record against teams with a winning record. Baltimore is a team with a winning record. I'm not in love with them either, but I think at home, -3.5, I have to take the Ravens.
All right. So Jesse likes the Ravens -3.5 at home against the Miami Dolphins. And if that occurs, Baltimore will be the number one seed in the AFC and have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But as we've seen in past years, Sean, that doesn't assure anything with Baltimore, because they've had home field advantage in the playoffs before and failed miserably. But I don't know. It's a different year. But what do you think of this matchup in particular?
Yeah, and again, I had this played out different. I like the Ravens. I had the Ravens thinking they're the ones getting embarrassed on Monday night. And I'm going to have a Miami team coming off a loss to Dallas and thinking, you know what, we're in trouble here. We might not even make the playoffs because here comes an angry Raven team off an embarrassing matchup. And they're at home and they're looking to lock up everything, come in here, destroy these guys. Now I'm thinking, does Baltimore kind of feel like we're the best team in the NFL? And maybe they're feeling a little fat happy. Listen, I still like the Ravens here minus the points. As Jess said, Miami, you beat Dallas. Again, there's going to be like, that was like kind of like the fraud ball, two teams, you don't beat good teams. But I don't think that. The last time I think Miami played here, we got a lot of the Tua Tyreek Hill hype, right? Didn't he score like 30 points in like a minute or something? Yeah. It was some kind of crazy wild game with the Ravens blowing a lead. I think Ravens get their revenge. I think they lock it all up here. So I'm with Jesse on Baltimore here at home.
Yeah, and for personal reasons, I hope you guys are right. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And yes, Jesse, they snapped their 28-game streak where they hadn't beaten a team with a winning record, but let's keep it in perspective. They won on a walk-off field goal on the last play of the game, and they won by 2, and it was at home. Now they need to beat a team with a winning record, let alone a team with a 12-3 record on the road. I think it's going to be an awfully tough chore for Miami to do so. Baltimore right now, defensively, I think we get caught up in the running game, and the topic matter seems to always revolve around Lamar Jackson, and understandably so. But, geez, the Baltimore defense, guys, has really showed a lot all year long, and especially down the stretch. Any other take you want to bring in to that conversation?
So, Ross, as I just said, 35-14 Ravens entering the fourth quarter. They take a 38-35 lead with 2 minutes to go, and then Miami wins with a touchdown
Yeah.
late. So 28-3 in the fourth quarter. Lamar, not a bad day. I don't know. 21-29, 318, 3 touchdowns, 9 carries, 119 yards on the ground with another TD. I mean,
yeah, that was last year too. You're
last
right.
year. So
September 18th of 2022. It's the
and
game.
that was when there was like some Lamar people were like, oh, he should have got the MVP. Or I'm like, the guy, he didn't give up 28 points in the fourth quarter. That wasn't him. Yeah, I look for payback time here.
And I'm going to catch flack for this. I like Lamar. I really do.
I do. The guy's a winner.
Yeah, but the bottom line is, in terms of the MVP conversation, other than Baltimore's record, which is 12-3, I think there's a lot more contributing factors than just Lamar in this equation. Now, would they be 12-3 without Lamar? No, they wouldn't be. Okay. But by the same token, when you look at a statistical performance line, I can make a case for 3 or 4 other players that are more worthy of an MVP right now. And I'm not going to get into that discussion right now. Christian McCaffrey, number one, jumps out at me. And another guy plays on my favorite team, but I'm not going to even go there because people like to focus in on turnovers. They fail to realize how many total touchdowns that individuals.
Right. Wrap it up. Wrap it up before the comment section goes crazy.
Yeah, I don't care if they do. I always make time for them. By the way, we got accused of being an SEC homer.
SEC homers. I saw that. Yeah.
So
SEC homers.
It's funny how the year evolves, Yeah. Anyway, let me get to my game.
Oh, like SEC homers. Huh?
I get Sean riled up, and then I get riled up, and then it's fun when we do that, but this isn't the time. All right. The Bears are hosting Atlanta on Sunday. Atlanta's still with their playoff hopes or division hopes alive. Playoff hopes, same thing. At 7-8, they trailed Tampa Bay by 1 game. And if I'm not mistaken, Atlanta and Tampa Bay play next week. So they're still alive for a division title. And the Bears are playing good ball right now. What could you say? I mean, they've won 4 of their last 6. And the 2 games they lost at Detroit by 5. In the game, they blew a double-digit lead with less than 3 minutes to go. A complete meltdown. And the other game they lost was at Cleveland, 20-17. The last I looked, the Browns are a pretty good team right now. So Atlanta on the road. And I'm going to focus in on the team total for the Atlanta Falcons, which right now is 17.5. Atlanta on the road this year is averaging 13.6 points per game and 266.4 yards per game. Those are just anemic numbers. Their offensive splits for the entire year, Atlanta averages 31 runs and 31 passes per game. By NFL standards, that's deemed to be relying heavily on your run game to get things done offensively, to get you in favorable down and distance situations, and also to open up play action passing. However, they're going to be facing the Chicago team, and not a lot of people realize this, but the Bears are number 1 in the NFL in rush defense. They're allowing just 80.7 yards per game on the ground. Also, the Bears at home, they're only allowing 268.7 yards per game at Soldier Field. And this just doesn't shape up like a good matchup for the Falcons in that regard. Now, the Falcons have been playing real good defense as well. And people might ask, well, why won't you just take Chicago? Because I just think there's a lot more urgency and desperation on the Atlanta side. If anything, I would lean toward the under in the game, but I hate using unders in the 30s in the NFL. That's just me. Chicago, number 2 NFL in rushing at 142.1 yards per game. Why do I mention that? Because it goes hand in hand with time of possession. And they're number 3 in the NFL in time of possession at 31 minutes and 50 seconds per game, while Atlanta is number 18 in that category at 29 minutes and 46 seconds. And I think there's a high probability Chicago will win the time of possession in this game. and it might be by a pretty good margin. Yeah, and with that being said, it's hard to score points when your offense is on the sidelines. The Chicago defense over the last 6 games has forced 14 turnovers, and they've allowed only 290 yards per game. Atlanta's coming up a home win last week against Indy, which I was pleased with because I had Atlanta, but this is a different week. And since the start of the 2021-2022 season, the Atlanta Falcons are 1-5 on the road coming off a home win. Why do I mention that? Because in those 6 games, they averaged just 13.2 points per game. That's all with Arthur Jones as their head coach. I'm going to go with the Atlanta team total here and go under that number of 17.5. That's Atlanta to go under their team total of 17.5 points. Jesse?
Yeah, I think I'll just go with the Bears, Ross. I was surprised to see Atlanta upset the Colts last week or get the win against the Colts. And I guess Heineke steps back in and has a pretty good game. We've seen this before with Atlanta, quarterback position back and forth. And we've seen it before with Heineke from his time with Washington. He's got good games in him, but he rarely strings 2 or 3 of them together. And it's a tougher spot playing on the road at Chicago than it is playing at home against Indy. So I will take the Chicago Bears here, and that correlates with your team total under.
Yep, Chicago Bears minus the 3 from Jesse Schule. Our official pick, though, is on the Atlanta Falcons to go under the team total of 17.5. But it's always interesting to hear other people's, whoever's on the show, the other 2 comments, regardless of the official pick. And Sean, I think about this, Sean, and I think, they missed badly on Desmond Ridder as the number 1 draft choice. And I think the front office really cost this team probably an opportunity to win this division because they were so steadfast in trying to make their decision right and staying the course with Desmond Ridder, where I feel like Taylor Heineke would he take you to the promised land? But to me, he's a more productive NFL quarterback at this stage than Desmond Ridder has ever been. So anyway, your take on this matchup and whatever I had to say.
All right, let's start with the quarterbacks. I don't hate sticking with a guy. You drafted a running back. You have Drake London, wide receiver. You got Pitts, the tight end. You don't use it. Like, there's been a lot of questions about the play calling in general. So if you want to stick with a young quarterback and take your lumps, so be it. I don't mind that. The problem is the head coach is on a hot seat. They expect him to win right now. Yeah. Good luck with that. If you're going to go with Heineke, who won some games in Washington, right? He's kind of not like a Fitzmagic kind of guy, but a veteran guy who's come and win some games. Let's go more Minshew, I guess. More Minshew's kind of style, come in and win games. You had Marcus Mariota, another first-round pick who people thought were going to be really good. Why don't you let the guys play a little bit? Again, that's a whole nother argument, Ross. Like, you draft a guy, let him play. You got to let him play. You expect every person to come in there and turn into Mahomes or Burrow or some other elite quarterback. It doesn't work that way. We've seen it time and time again. Ridiculous. Whatever. So I was doing some digging while you were talking about the Bears, talking about the road losses. How about even in New Orleans, the game's tied in the fourth quarter, 17-all. These guys, Josh Fields, young quarterback. Get rid of him. We gotta get Caleb Williams in here. Well, this guy's had you in all these games already. You could have won those games. You're right in them all. So I've been riding the Bears a little bit here. And again, I don't want Atlanta anything on the road, outside. I don't care what the weather is. It's still a dome kind of team. They're just not built for that. And the way the Bears are playing, not that they're making the playoffs, but good for them playing spunky. Those guys, they hear the whispers over there. You tell me Josh Fields and the coach think, we got to fire the coach. Well, he's going to win out some games here. They're not going to fire him. They're not going to draft Caleb Williams, number 1. Get the pieces around your young quarterback, for the love of God. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you named three players at skill positions that are pretty damn good for Atlanta.
Yes.
Kyle Pitts.
It takes some time. If they didn't even get, how about Robinson doesn't even get the ball sometimes?
That's what I was just going to say. And
They
brilliant
don't give them the
minds think
ball.
alike.
They don't throw to
Yeah.
Pitts.
I mean, you look at when you've allowed Bijan Robinson to have a heavy workload, he's produced. The guy's a great back, a young back at that.
Who's calling the
And
plays over there?
Yeah, they've underutilized him. Yeah, Taylor Algiers is a good back as well. But look, you drafted this guy number 1, okay?
Feed him
Took
the
a little
ball.
bit of heat for doing so. Make him your feature back. I get it that
Yes.
Algiers is still a productive back and has earned some time, but at the end of the day, like Sean said, you draft the guy high. That's a big gamble because anytime you draft a running back that high, he better be somewhat of a feature back. And if he's not a feature back, okay, then
I think the Lions have shown you two
better
good
have the
backs.
reason that he's not productive. And that's not been the case, Sean.
Ross, Montgomery and Gibbs have both had pretty decent years for Detroit. And they have St. Brown, they got Laporta. They got some, I mean, not that Pitts is better than Laporta. I mean, who knows at this point because Pitts doesn't get the ball. But again, that's a guy you drafted number 4 in the draft. So there is talent there. Can you get some creativity to get the offense going? And again, this is why, they got Tampa Bay and I was on Tampa. That division was weak all around. You could have let the kids stay the whole time. Let him throw the ball a little bit. And he takes off too. He's a runner. You can't. Where's the play calling? And I'm not even a Falcon fan. I mean, listen, I like Dondre Rison and Dion back in the day when I was on the team, but come on. This could be a good team. I think at least.
I get what you're saying. In theory, it's correct. And for the most part, I agree with sticking with who you drafted high and not bailing on them too early. But at some point, your eye test has to tell you we missed badly on this pick. I personally believe Desmond Ridder, it's not his fault they drafted him number 1, but he was not a number 1 quarterback. He got a lot of accolades at Cincinnati, but it wasn't that Cincinnati team with all the success they had a lot of talent and they were great defensively. He never wooed me in college as well, Sean. But Jesse, you haven't had an opportunity to speak. Go right ahead, sir.
Well, I might go a little contrarian to what Sean said, but I think what I'm about to say, I think I've heard Sean say it in the past. And I always thought that the starting job should have been Heineke's from the beginning. We did get to see Ridder a little bit at the end of last year. I wasn't impressed with what I saw there. He had an opportunity to win the job in the preseason. I don't think he did that. I think they went with sort of the idea that Sean's saying. We drafted this guy. He's supposed to be our quarterback of the future. But if that's the case, why are you picking up Heinicke? What are you bringing him in there for? To be a threat to him? I mean, if you're bringing a guy like Heinicke in, you let him be the veteran. You let him be the starter. You let him develop. You let the younger guy develop under him. Maybe he's got a better chance that way. I think it was mismanagement from day one when they named Desmond Ridder the starter without him earning the job, in my opinion.
And that's exactly, Jesse, that's exactly what I was trying to say from the get-go is, did you bite your nose off to spite your face because you drafted this kid number 1 to the point where you probably you probably prevented yourself. Now, they could still win a division, but if they don't, I think the major factor, this was a very winnable division for any of those teams other than Carolina. And I think they prevented them from being in a position of strength than they are right now by sticking with this kid too long. And you're right, Jesse. You bring a guy like Taylor Heinicke in, it's an insurance policy. And I don't think you use that insurance policy properly. Look, Desmond Ridder, Sean, wouldn't have been the first rookie quarterback that was drafted number 1 to have a starting position and then be sat down and then come back and have a productive career. Okay. Again, the jury is out, but my eye test tells me, look, the guy's not a number 1 pick. It's not his fault.
With Richardson over in Indy, I'm like, you give this spot to the rookie, you can't pull him out unless he got hurt. Well, he got hurt and lost the season. You can't. And who knows? Who knew how that season would play out with him as quarterback? Maybe they're still good, maybe they're not. Kenny Pickett and Trubisky, same kind of thing. Like, oh, we're going to let the rookie. Let a guy sit and learn a little bit. This is not college football. Same with Caleb Williams. Like the guy against good guys with NFL defenses, he looked terrible against. He couldn't get this team a win. Tannehill and Levis. That's a guy, they drafted a quarterback the year before Tennessee in the second round, thinking that was their future. Like these teams, and it comes down to this, guys. The coaches get a guy, it's my guy, and yet the team thinks 3 wins is a bad season. Well, if you're going to let a rookie quarterback start, chances are you're not having a winning season.
See, but that's the difference.
Zach Wilson in New York with his 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 years. How's that working out there?
Yeah.
And
I think if you want him to start, you should let him earn it in the preseason as well. Yes. Give him a ton of time in the preseason. Let him show you what he can do. Okay, if he comes out there and you have, he has 2 or 3 good starts in the preseason and he shows you something. But I don't think Ritter did that this year. I was shocked when they named him the starter. And Richardson, they let him come in for one game. And he's on
the hot seat though, too. Like the coach, he's on his way. He needed something. You're not getting that with a rookie quarterback. That's not happening.
See, here's the credit I'll give to Tennessee, and he wasn't a number 1 choice, Malik Willis, but that's who you're referring to, I believe, Sean. You said he was drafted in the 2nd round. I thought it was the 3rd, but any event, it doesn't matter. It's a high draft pick, right?
They bought him as something like, oh, maybe he's the next stack, a 3rd round pick, come in, Russell Wilson-esque kind of guy, like a surprise.
Yeah. But my point being, Sean, is that you got to give Tennessee credit, and I think a lot has to do with a very good head coach and Mike Vrabel who said, look, we missed badly on this guy. We're looking at the eye test I'm looking at right now. This guy is not an NFL caliber starting quarterback. I personally believe the same way with Desmond Ritter. He probably should have been a 2nd or 3rd round pick instead of a 1st round pick. And many would agree with me prior to that draft. And I just think that they overdrafted the kid. And if he was a 2nd or 3rd round pick, they would have made this move for Heineke early on, and they probably would have been better suited for it. But, discussion for another day. We can go on for 45 minutes.
In 4 months, every quarterback taken in the 1st round is going to be like the next thing since sliced bread. So.
Oh, absolutely.
This guy has everything you need when you're looking to build a franchise. Look at his arm strength and the poise in the pocket.
And there also will be some pundits. My point being is with Desmond Ritter, there was a lot more people who were opposed to him being a 1st round draft choice than they weren't. And Atlanta took a risk and they missed, but you can't, you got to be willing. And the good franchises that continually win are willing to admit, I made a mistake. Look at, again, because it's close to home. Kaiir Elam, they drafted number 1 out of Clemson last year, Buffalo. Okay. The kid can't cover a wall with a gallon of paint. Okay. They moved on from him. You know what I'm saying? So in any event, Jesse, tell the folks a little bit about why you can't.
I'm going to use that.
You like that one, Sean. Tell the folks a little bit about why they should spend their hard-earned money with you over at GamblersWorld.net.
Because college basketball is about to take center stage, and while Ross is sitting pretty in the number 1 spot on the leaderboards at GamblersWorld.net, I'm right behind him, and I'm advising him not to get too comfortable there in the top spot. I'm coming for you, Ross. 9-1 with my last 10 college basketball sides, and I got some picks on tap for tomorrow's action. I don't have anything for today. There's only 3 games, but that's why you should buy my picks.
Feel like the hunted, Sean. Tell the folks a little bit about why they should participate and buy from Mr. Higgs over at GamblersWorld.net.
Yeah, well, I'm not in the top college basketball right now, but it's still, the night is young here, as they say.
Yes, it is.
A lot of basketball left, and I got a run in me there to come at you. But hey, listen, we still have some college football bowl games. NFL's chugging along. My NBA and hockey have hit when a little more selective in that when I come out with plays, but not too shabby there. So a little bit of everything except for soccer, and we'll put a little money in your pocket in 2024. I can't believe next year, 4 days away. Crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing out in the football season, how it flies by, just we're all excited in September, and It's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but between September and January, time flies by during football season. But in the summer months when you can't wait for football, it seems like it's forever. Anyway,
It seems
why
like
should
just
you buy?
yesterday they were calling us fools for taking the Utah Utes over Florida. And now all of a sudden we're SEC homers.
Yeah, we're SEC home, right?
Yeah,
How do you go
yeah,
Utah? Or taking the points with Cal against Auburn on the road.
yeah, that was a
You don't know what you're
stupid pick,
talking
wasn't
about.
it?
Yeah, we don't know what we're talking about. We're right on both counts, right? You had Utah.
Yeah.
We like Cal.
Yeah, it flies by. That's the point of the matter. Anyway, why should you buy from me? I'm 4-5 this year in the college football bowl season, but going back to last year, 17-9, coming off a win yesterday, 65%. College football overall since December 2nd of last year, 74-53. That's 58%. NFL since week 2 started out 2-5 in week 1, but I've bounced back since that time. I've gone 55-38, which is good for 59%. Speaking of college basketball, on runs of 16-6 this year and 45-29 dating back to last season. So college basketball has been treating me well, but as these two gentlemen just said, it's a long season. And consistency is what it's all about. My NBA picks since April 12th of this year, dating back to last season, 67-42, good for 61% there. So a lot of good things going on with myself. And if you be right now at the site, and I'm not trying to rub it in here, but since everybody blows their horn and we're all competitive, number 1 overall since the site's inception in mid-July. And nobody right now is a close second, Jesse. So I would challenge you two guys to start making a run at me. Come on, man. Come on. You guys are more than capable. Anyway, until the next time, for Jesse Schule and Sean Higgs, the next time will be tomorrow morning. We'll be discussing more NFL action right here. We'll record at 10:30, and the show should be up by around noon Eastern time at our Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel. By the way, if you want to be notified immediately, first you need to be subscribed by hitting that black subscribe button right underneath the video box if you're on your mobile device or your smart TV. And if you're on your PC, you'll see a WC logo, bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Click on that. Absolutely free to subscribe, people. There's no hidden agenda. There's no subscription plans. You're privy to some of the best sports betting information you'll find on any show, anywhere on the internet. And also, if you want to go into your YouTube settings and click on the alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, we air 6 times a week. And one of those is live every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. The other 5 are pre-recorded. And so you don't have to keep checking back all the time. You'll be notified immediately upon us publishing any of our future podcasts on the channel. So it provides a convenience for you folks. In any event, Jesse, there's a like button right underneath. What do you want them to do with that?
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button, folks. It's just a small token of appreciation for the time, work, and effort we put into giving you a quality podcast 6 times a week and 365 days a year. And the object will always be, and the theme will always be, it has been from the get-go and will continue to be, we want to make you a smarter sports bettor today than you were yesterday. For Jesse, Sean, and Ross, see you tomorrow morning. Take care. God bless, folks.